Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. We are covering 1 Corinthians this week, specifically chapter 9 today. Interesting chapter here as Paul talks about the rights of being an apostle, a spiritual leader, and he's relating it to those that are followers of Christ in that day that have this impression that as a follower of Christ, we should have everything going right, life should come easy, we should be blessed. And yet Paul kind of contradicts that with, wait a minute, as an apostle, as a spiritual leader, I find the opposite. I find that I'm sacrificing and that I'm disrespected, that I'm giving to others instead of being given to. Interesting dilemma there as he talks about what is correct. He finishes out the chapter here with talking about running a race. If you know me, I love imagery. I like word pictures. I like object lessons. And Paul does a great job here giving us all of that. Listen to what he says beginning in verse 24 of chapter 9. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run? Seems pretty logical, right? But only one gets the prize. This is no participation awards, right? Some of you parents out there, you're like, way to go, Johnny, you stood on the field. Anyway, okay, let's move on. But run in such a way to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, here's what Paul says, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating at the air. No, I beat my body and I make it my slave so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. This has to do with lifestyle Christianity. You see, it's really easy to preach. It's really easy to teach. It's really easy to quote scripture to people and say all these beliefs. Awesome, do that. But does your life line up with what you're preaching? We listened to a song yesterday, or a few days ago now, I guess on Wednesday, by Lauren Daigle, and she talks about what does the world need? They need to know that you actually believe this word. How are they going to know that? By how you live your life. You see, some of us just preach these things, but our life doesn't align with it. And when I heard that song, it challenged me so much. Several years ago, when I was first called to ministry as a teenager, I remember the Lord impressing on my heart, and I felt him say to me, Sarah, are you going to reach the whole world and yet lose your soul? Meaning this, yes, I want you to go do all these things for me. Yes, I want you to use your gifts and your talents. I talked about that just yesterday. Yes, yes, yes. But at the end of the day, do I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ? You see, at the end of the day, he's not going to be like, show me all the stuff you did. He's going to say, do you know my son? Do you honor me with your heart and your life and your words and your actions? But does that come out of a personal relationship with me? Dare I say there are many people who show a life devoted to God, but don't have a life devoted to God. God is not impressed by what we do for him. He wants to have us to have a relationship with him. And then out of that should come what we do for him. Some of us have it backwards. Some of us are running this race aimlessly. Some of us are beating at the air aimlessly instead of being focused and running in such a way that we're making a difference for the cause of Christ. Our lives need to be in alignment with the will of God. How? We have to spend time with him in order to know what that will is. We have to read his word. We have to listen. We have to obey. Otherwise, it just becomes legalism. Otherwise, it just becomes checking off boxes. If we don't have a personal relationship with God, friends, what are we doing? Following rules? Jesus didn't die so that you could follow rules. Jesus died so you could have a living relationship with the God of the universe who compels you to live a life devoted to him. Let's take some time today and evaluate the motives of our hearts. You might have a laundry list of things that you've done for God. Awesome. But what was the motive and heart behind them? Or you may have nothing to show. And you've been running around aimlessly in this world. God has a plan and a purpose for your life that he wants to birth out of a relationship that you have with him. Let's take time and talk to God about that today. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to the Daily Dose. And I hope to see you again tomorrow for another one. We'll see you then.